How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be going over a Ford that has DPF related faults on it. It's got poor performance, engine light on, engine service now warning on the dash as well. But in particular I'm going to be going over the fuel vaporizer that Ford utilizes in this system. I'm going to be showing you what that is, how to test it, and also how you can potentially clean it and save a lot of money. Okay, so first of all, I have quite a few DPF related videos with step-by-step processes on testing and knowledge sharing on my channel, and I will link them in the description should you want some more in-depth knowledge on DPFs. This one is going to be mostly focusing on those fuel vaporizers that Ford utilize in theirs, and a fuel vaporizer is an injector that is in the upstream of the DPF in the exhaust system. Has a little fuel pump running to it, and it has a heated element in it which heats the fuel coming in and vaporizes in the exhaust, pushing up the temperatures to get it up to that 500-600 degrees Celsius, which aids in the burn off and reduces soot accumulation. Therefore it has better fuel economy and better emissions coming out the exhaust. That's what that fuel vaporizer is. It is quite common for those to get blocked up, but what's not so common is the knowledge and how you might clean and test that. So first of all, with any of the assessments we do on DPF or anything else, we're going to have to do a scan, pull the fault codes, get some live data, and go from there. That's what I do first and foremost. Lots of fault codes stored, all related to soot accumulation and regeneration conditions not met, and we're going to have to go a bit deeper on it from there. So the fault codes that was present on this one was P2463, P246B, P246C and P24A4. That was all the fault codes that was stored in this vehicle initially when it presented. I brought it for a test drive, monitored the exhaust pressures and also monitored the soot accumulation on it. Extremely high, above 300% soot accumulation, and also when it's in the workshop, a test you can do looking at the pressure sensors is seeing if the back pressure in the exhaust is too high for a service regeneration. A service regeneration is when you force the vehicle to get up to a certain temperature in the exhaust to burn off the soot, and it can last anywhere from 30 to 50 minutes to carry out a service regeneration. But you will need to know the correct parameters to carry out a service regeneration so that it's done in a safe and proper manner. In this case, all of those parameters were too high, over 300%, and the other test is when you have the increase in RPM, you get it up to 2000 RPM, and you're checking to see what the exhaust pressure sensors are. Anywhere between 150 to 200 millibar is a safe-ish range for carrying out a service regeneration. Anything from 250 and especially over 300 is getting in a very unsafe range and is not the parameters you want for doing a forced or service regeneration in the workshop. So I had the knowledge that service regeneration out of range. I also had the knowledge that the fuel vaporizer is in the system. So the first thing I want to do is check that fuel vaporizer, and it's very simple and quick checks that you can do to assess that. The basic tooling you will need is a vacuum gauge and a multimeter, because you want to do an ohms test on it when checking it too, but mostly the vacuum gauge. So you want to pull a pipe off that fuel vaporizer, put the vacuum gauge up in place, and the readings you're expecting to see is 0. You don't want the vacuum gauge to move at all, because that's telling you that there is a restriction and it's capable of building up pressure. You want it to stay at 0 or next to 0, very, very little flicking whatsoever. And in this case, as you can see here, the gauge is shooting right up. So I know instantly that there is pressure being built up, and there is a blockage, and a heavy one at that, in this fuel vaporizer. So to get one of these out can be quite difficult, and it's a 22mm open spanner. You could put some lubrication on it, allow it to soak. In my case, I use a spanner extender. I also used a block of timber up on the higher part of the exhaust propped against the body, so when I leveraged up on it, I had a firm leverage, and that exhaust wasn't moving up and down as I applied pressure. I did crack away the nut, and I was able able to get this fuel vaporizer out of position. Now, when you're disconnecting it completely, you're taking off the fuel inlet pipe that's there. You're also taking off the electrical connector, which is just a push down and pull back clip. So very straightforward as well to do that. When you have it out, you can even test it when it's in position too. But when I had it out, I got the multimeter and I did an ohms test on it, and it showed it was fine. Anything on these ohms tests, 6 ohms and under is absolutely fine. Some people say less than 3, but general rule of thumb with a glow plug and a fuel vaporizer is 5 to 6 ohms and under is okay. You don't want a reading of 0 and you don't want a reading very high. If you have either, then you need to get rid of it. Now, the main part of this is assessing the blockage, and as you can see here, it's completely blocked. There is no room for movement whatsoever, and doing a vacuum gauge test while in the vise showcases that it's completely blocked and it's time to do some cleaning on it. So the next step in this is in the vise, I have it in a nice secure position. I'm going to try and clean this up. You will need your vacuum gauge again, and you also are going to need something that's going to drive up the temperature on that item, same as you would in the exhaust. You want to drive up the temperature to try and burn off some of the buildup in there, and I'm going to be using some cleaner as well to aid in that, and that's going to be a DPF style cleaner. I'm using Penrite in this one, but I've utilized Worth previously as well. Anything that works for you is going to work on this. So if you've done DPF cleans before, use one of those cleaners to try and aid and clean through this vaporizer. As you can see here, I'm using gas and I'm getting the temperature up. It's cherry red, and I'm applying the vacuum on and off, seeing if it's getting better and better as the temperature is burning off the buildup. And as you can see, the needle is getting better as it goes. So I get it to a stage where it's just resting at 0. I can press the gauge and now it's not got a restriction anymore. There's no buildup of vacuum in it, and I can let it cool down. After it cools down, I'm not finished with it yet. I'm not going to just stick it back in the vehicle and say that this job is done. I want to run cleaner through it. So I attach up the DPF cleaner onto that inlet pipe and I pressurize it. So I spray through it, and what you're seeing blow through here is that cleaner, and that's going to aid in making sure that when we put it back in, there isn't going to be a restriction afterwards. We don't know exactly how much cleaning we've done internally by just using the heat, and having this additional cleaner run through it is a very good idea should you want to have a longer success with cleaning this part. So now that the testing has been done, we've tested it in the vehicle, we've tested it on the bench, we've cleaned it out, we've retested it, and we've also put through cleaner that vaporizer. We've checked it on the ohms reading and everything is within spec, so I'm very happy to put it back in the vehicle afterwards. The last test that you can do, should you want to, is an actuation test, and you can do that with it hooked up but not put back into the exhaust and tightened up, and that actuation test just pumps and primes fuel through that vaporizer, and you can catch it in a canister should you have it removed, or if it's in the exhaust system, you would just be putting your hand on the pump. It would be pumping fuel into the exhaust, and then when it runs through that cycle, when you start it, you're going to get some excessive smoke come out the exhaust afterwards, and that's just showing you the additional fuel that has been pushed in there and the burn off that is kind of happening through the exhaust afterwards. Once all them tests are done, we know that the fuel vaporizer is good to go, serviceable condition, passes the test. pass the ohm test, pass the vacuum test, and the fuel pump is capable of priming through. Now on this particular vehicle we still have a soot accumulation extremely high, so that's not going to be the end of it. It's still not going to need some extra work. It's going to need some cleaner, either an additive type foam cleaner through, or a pressurized flush through, or DPF removal send off for that extreme cleaning, and the last one is replacement of the DPF. But any of those items could potentially get it back, the cleaner I mean, and the flushing type cleaner could get it back into a serviceable range where you can carry out a forced regeneration afterwards. But the parameters have to be met, and once the soot is down in a safe range, you can do that, and then everything should be back to normal afterwards. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful and informative. If you did, please like, share, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.